is Jane Kwon. Janekwon.
Thank you. Ms. Kwon, can you tell us how it is that you're employed, please?
I am currently employed by the Los Angeles Police Department in the Forensic Science Division.
And what is your position there?
I am a criminalist.
Okay. How many years have you been employed there as a criminalist?
It will be 12 years in August.
And where are you assigned currently at the lab?
I'm currently assigned to the Quality Assurance Unit.
What does the Quality Assurance Unit do?
Quality Assurance Unit is a team of criminalists, and we basically oversee the quality system of the laboratory. It involves a lot of auditing and reviewing to make sure that the work produced by the laboratory is technically sound and in compliance with the accreditation and laboratory policies and procedures.
And that is because, as you just mentioned, the LAPD's crime lab is an accredited lab, right?
That is correct.
What does it mean to be an accredited laboratory?
LAPD Crime Laboratory is an accredited laboratory in the testing and calibration program. We have undergone voluntary third-party auditing program, and it involves making sure that the lab follows all the standards within ISO document 17025 and AR 3125.
Okay, you just rattled off a bunch of letters and numbers. So for people who don't know what ISO or 725 or any of that stuff means, what is that?
So basically, it's a very numerous and very voluminous standards to make sure that we as a laboratory meet every one of those criteria. And by saying that LAPD Crime Laboratory is an accredited laboratory, we are saying that we have met all those requirements listed in those documents.
Okay. So the laboratory has standard operating procedures, protocols, standards that are in place in order to meet the accreditation standard by outside third-party accreditation board, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so that means that people such as yourself have to review the work of other criminalists in the lab. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay. And in order to be an accredited lab, is there also, besides the quality assurance measures that you're talking about as part of the accreditation standards, does that also require that the criminalists within the lab in the various sections have to meet certain standards and are subject to proficiency testing on a regular basis?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And how many years have you been in the quality assurance section?
About 6 years, since 2019.
Prior to being assigned to the quality assurance unit, where were you previously assigned?
I was assigned to the Field Investigation Unit.
What is the Field Investigation Unit?
Field Investigation Unit is a unit where the primary duties is to respond to crime scenes and vehicle searches to identify and collect document evidence.
And approximately how many crime scenes would you say that you processed during your time in the Field Investigation Unit?
235.
Approximately, wow, that's precise. I didn't expect that. How many vehicles?
That I would have to get back to you.
Okay. I'm assuming more than a couple.
Oh, yes.
Okay. And how many years were you assigned to the Field Investigation Unit?
I was hired in 2013, and I was in Field Investigation Unit until 2019.
So approximately 6 years?
Yes.
And did you undergo some training before you were allowed to process crime scenes and vehicles?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
The training is approximately 1 year long. Basically, it involves reading, taking tests, and actually working with the senior criminalists. I successfully completed the training program, and at the end, I also took a competency test, which I successfully completed.
Okay. And were you also subject to proficiency testing on a regular basis?
After I became competent, annually I also took proficiency tests to make sure that I was proficient and I was doing, following the protocols.
And did you know back in 2017 when you were assigned to the Field Investigation Unit, did you know and work with someone by the name of Corey Hawk?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you also testified multiple times as an expert regarding crime scene investigation and evidence collection?
Yes.
All right. In 2017, specifically on January 27th of 2017, were you asked to process a vehicle that was a 2008 black Porsche 911 at a tow yard?
Yes.
And was that the black Porsche that is, or belonged to the victim in this case, Fabio Sementilli?
Yes.
And when you went to this tow yard, was that the Howard Summers tow yard off of Deering?
Yes.
And did you process that vehicle in the presence of LAPD detectives Gene Parshall and Ryan Verna?
Yes.
And prior to even processing the vehicle, did you discuss with them what the investigation to that point was so that you would have some idea as to what to be looking for?
Yes, I received initial information that was known at the time so I can do the search that I need to do.
And when you were processing the vehicle, did you also do so in conjunction with a laboratory photographer?
Yes.
Okay. And did you direct her to take overall photographs of what you were doing?
Yes.
And is that something that was, again, standard protocol when you either processed a crime scene or a vehicle?
Yes.
So let me interrupt you.
Yes.
Take our lunch and recess at this time. We'll be in recess until 1:30. The admonition applies not to discuss this case either among yourselves or with anyone else, or to form or express any opinion until the cause is finally submitted to you. Have a good lunch.
Ms. Kwon, when we broke off for lunch, we were talking about the processing of victim Fabio Sementilli's black Porsche on January 27th of 2017, showing you what's been previously marked as People's 36. Is this the vehicle that you processed on that date at Howard Summers Tow?
Yes.
Same one that we see here in Exhibit 37?
Yes.
What did you notice about the windshield of this particular vehicle?
I noticed that on the front windshield there was a paper licensing attached to it.
Is that what we see here to the right photograph in Exhibit 37?
Yes, ma'am.
And showing you People's 38, again, are these photographs that were taken at the time of processing by the photographer that came out?
Yes.
And so there's no license plate on the vehicle?
There was no license plate.
What did you notice about the condition of the vehicle in terms of the windows and things of that nature?
The front left and the front right windows were rolled all the way up, and then the rear ones were rolled down.
Okay. Was there any key anywhere in the ignition or in the vehicle itself?
There was no key.
Okay. Now, when you process a vehicle or a crime scene such as this, is there a protocol, a standard contamination protocol that you follow?
Yes.
Tell us about that, if you would.
To prevent cross-contamination, I use personal protective equipment. And what that is, essentially, I wear gloves and masks, and I also tie my hair back.
Okay. And how do you go about collecting samples from, let's say, the interior of a vehicle such as this?
So first, I would document the vehicle as is, and I will use flashlight and naked eyes to visualize to see if there's any biological evidence. Then I would use a PID number, which is just a number placed next to the stain to highlight the evidence items. and I will work with the photographer to photograph that.
When you say PID number, what does PID stand for, please?
PID stands for photograph identification.
Okay. And do the PID numbers sometimes correspond with an evidence item number?
Yes.
Okay. And when you collect evidence, do you document in notes that you're taking simultaneously where you're collecting a particular swab from,
Yes,
along with the date, time, things of that nature?
that's correct.
All right. And then do you also fill out a property report to identify the swabs or samples collected?
Yes, so PID number is a number system that I use at the vehicle searches or crime scenes, and property item gets assigned later at the laboratory when the evidence is ready for long-term storage.
In terms of the property evidence items, when you collect items and then subsequently book those samples into property, do you book them under the unique DR number for the case?
Yes,
And in this case, any evidence that you collected, did you book it under the DR number for LAPD's case 17-21-05194?
yes,
Do you know who Randy Zepeda is?
yes.
Who is he?
He is a DNA analyst assigned to the DNA serology unit.
Okay. And was he also assigned to the DNA serology unit back in 2017 at the time that you collected evidence in this case?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. In terms of collecting evidence, did you collect items, as you mentioned, you looked with a flashlight, from not just areas where you could potentially see stains, but also from areas that would be likely to have DNA?
Yes.
So those would be, can you explain that to us, like what type of areas that would be?
So the areas that would be normally touched, such as door handles, they could have trace amount of DNA deposit onto them. So I cannot visibly see the DNA that could be on the surface, but I did my biological evidence processing to potentially collect for those types of evidence.
Okay. Now, in terms of your collection, in addition to, as we just discussed, areas where you might have seen possible potential biological material, where there was red stains, did you also use some type of a chemical test to aid you in determining which areas to collect from?
Yes.
Tell us about that, if you would.
There's a chemical screening tool. It's a presumptive tool that we use for blood search. And it is a color indicator, and I basically take a small sample of the stain in question, apply the chemical, and to see if it has a reaction. A positive reaction, the chemical turns from a clear color to a very bright color, indicating a positive result.
Did you also use some type of color coding system to identify the areas where you obtained a positive notation for biological materials such as blood?
Yes.
How did you go about doing that?
So when I identified a stain that I would like to test, I placed a red sticker next to the stain. And once I applied the chemical and obtained the results, I applied a blue sticker on top of the red sticker when I received a positive reaction.
And did you also make a diagram where you included your notes as you collected samples from various areas inside of the vehicle that we see here in People's Exhibits 36 through 38?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I have two diagrams of the exterior and interior of the Porsche. If this document could be marked as People's 193, please.
Yes.
Showing you Exhibit 193. Do you recognize what you see here? Let's start with the one on the left.
Yes, that is page 6 of the notes that I generated that day.
Okay. And looking to the right, the diagram on the right, does this show the interior of the Porsche where you have identified the areas from which you collected samples?
Yes.
And they appear to be yellow numbers.
Yes.
What do they represent?
Those represent the PID numbers.
So the photo identification number.
Yes.
I actually have a set of photographs that relate to Exhibit 193. There are 11, including the diagrams. May I have them also collectively marked as People's 193? They have individual numbers in the lower left-hand corner.
All right, you wish to have them as part of 193, so
Yes.
so marked.
Showing you 193. The diagrams was 193, and in the bottom left corner there is a number 7. Now I'm going to show you 193 that has a 12 in the left-hand corner. Did you begin your collection in the driver's compartment?
I started with the driver compartment, yes.
Okay. Does this show us the interior of the driver's side door?
Yes.
And did you see stains in this particular area on the driver's door?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Showing you what's been marked down as 193 that has a 13 in the bottom left corner. This appears to be the same interior driver's door, but now we see that there are PID numbers 11, 12, and 13. I assume this is 11 behind the driver's door handle.
Yes.
And what did you document here with respect to these 3 areas?
I documented the placements of the stains that I was to test and will collect.
Okay. And as you mentioned earlier, you used colored stickers, a red sticker and a blue sticker. Those are areas where you believed you saw biological evidence?
Yes.
That you could see with the naked eye?
Yes, I saw stains.
And you used that, as you told us, a presumptive chemical test?
Yes.
Okay. And that was used to identify potential biological material?
Yes.
Given that we see that there is a blue sticker on top of the red, does that mean that in each of those 3 areas, the phenolphthalein test or the chemical test tested positive for biological evidence such as blood?
They tested positive.
Okay. Showing you 193 that has a 14 in the bottom, looking at your placard number, your PID number 11, what do we see here?
There was a red stain in the dripboard-like pattern on the front left driver's side interior panel, and what you see in the picture is PID number 11, close-up view of it, and you also see my sticker, the red sticker and the blue sticker, to indicate the results of that stain.
Is this a stain that we see here, as I'm indicated in the bottom right photograph, and also in the top left photograph that appears to be vertical in nature?
Yes.
Looking at 193 that has a 17 in the bottom left corner. Can you tell us what area we're looking at here?
This is the front left seat, and on the seat side of it there are seat controls, and the lever had red stain.
Is that the red stain area that we can see here that I'm pointing to with respect to the seat control?
Yes.
And again, was that an area that tested positive for blood?
Yes.
Looking at Exhibit 193 that has an 18 in the bottom corner. Again, looking at the interior of the driver's door. Actually, this is the, once you're inside the seat, this would be the driver's side seat controls.
Yes.
And again, we see the red sticker with the blue sticker, meaning that this was an area that tested positive for blood.
Yes, it tested positive using the phenolphthalein test.
Okay. And this is the same area where you see the red staining in the photograph to the bottom right that I'm pointing to?
Yes.
What about the steering wheel? What did you note with respect to the steering wheel?
There was also a stain on the steering wheel.
Showing you Exhibit 193 that has a 15 in the bottom left corner. Again, this is the steering wheel area.
Yes.
193 that has a 16 in the bottom left corner. This area here, where again we see the red and the blue sticker. Is this the area from which you collected a stain?
Yes.
And if we look at the photograph to the right, that would be this area here that I'm pointing to, just above your red sticker,
Yes, ma'am.
where you have an arrow pointing on the red sticker.
Yes.
And what did you notice with respect to the clutch?
There was a stain on the clutch pedal.
Did you initially in your notes indicate this was a brake pedal?
Yes.
And then you subsequently made a correction and identified it as a clutch?
Yes.
Okay. Looking at 193 with a 19 in the bottom left corner, which of these pedals are we talking about?
The one on the left.
Okay. Showing you Exhibit 193 that has a 20 in the bottom left corner. Looking at the pedal to the left where you have a placard with a number 23. Again, looking at your stickers, is this the area with the arrow pointing to the location where you saw that red stain?
Yes.
Did you also communicate with criminalists within the lab who are charged with making diagrams?
I contacted the architectural drafting technician,
Was that Alan Perez and at that time Maria Catango?
Maria Contango.
Okay. Showing you Exhibit 193 that has an 8 in the bottom left corner. Is this the diagram that represented the various areas where you collected stains and where biological material was found?
Yes.
When you went through the collection process, how did you go about collecting swabs from each location?
Wearing personal protective equipment to avoid cross-contamination. I also used sterile swabs and sterile water in collection to protect the quality of the evidence. It is essentially like a giant Q-tip. I apply sterile water, and then I apply that moistened swab to the stain or the area of interest.
So, all in all, how many swabs did you collect from the interior, the driver's compartment, and the passenger compartment of this vehicle?
There are a total of 23 swabs collected.
Okay. And when you told us about how you used a Q-tip with sterile water to collect these items, did you use a different Q-tip? It's like a long Q-tip, right?
Yes.
From each area?
Yes.
All right. And then did you package them separately into separate bindles?
Yes.
Subsequently, did you fill out a property report with respect to those 23 swabs that you collected, numbering them numbers 44 through 66?
Yes.
In terms of the architectural diagrams that were created in the lab, did those, you reviewed those and they were accurate with respect to what you collected?
Yes.
Now I want to turn to June 15th of 2017. Did you also process a 2000 Black Ford Expedition belonging to an individual by the name of Robert Baker under license plate D584G0?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have 16 a series of 16 sets of photographs regarding this vehicle. May they be marked collectively as People's 194, and again, they have numbers in the bottom left corner.
Yes.
Thank you. And where did your processing of this particular vehicle take place?
It took place in our laboratory, one of the vehicle bays.
Okay. And was a robbery homicide detective, Detective Carlos Camacho, present?
Yes.
Once again, did you work with a photographer from the crime lab or the forensic science division?
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 194. This one has a 3 in the bottom left corner. Is this the vehicle that you processed on June 15th at the crime lab, 2017?
Yes.
When you Exhibit 194 that has a 4 in the bottom left corner, again, is that the same vehicle?
Yes.
And is that also the same vehicle that we see in 194 that has a 5 in the bottom left corner?
Yes.
And did you recover various items from the interior of this vehicle?
Yes.
Showing you Exhibit 194 that has an 8 in the bottom left corner. Did you recover a black Targus bag with miscellaneous personal and electronic items from the second row?
Yes.
And did that also include a racquetball bag, several rackets, and racquetball related items?
The racquetball bag was on the second row seat.
Okay. Showing you Exhibit 194 that has a 9 in the bottom lower corner. Are these the items that you recovered from the second row area?
Those are the items that I found at this vehicle search.
Again, from the second row seat behind the driver?
They're the items inside the vehicle and also the items found in the second row seat, yes.
Okay. Showing you Exhibit 194 that has a 10 in the bottom lower corner. Again, are these some of the items that you recovered from the second row floor space?
Some of those were recovered by me, and the items were found in the Targus bag that was found on the second row floor space.
And the items that weren't recovered by you, you had another criminalist that you were working with that day?
Could you repeat the question?
The items that weren't recovered by you, were those recovered by another criminalist that was working with you that day?
Yes.
Okay. And they were recovered in your presence?
Yes.
Okay. Showing you Exhibit 194 that has a 14 in the bottom left corner. Did you also recover several memory cards from the vehicle?
Yes.
And did you itemize those as items 150 through 157 under PID 14?
May I refer to my notes?
Sure.
PID 14 and its contents were booked as items 150 to 157.
Okay. Showing you Exhibit 194 that has a 19 in the lower left corner. Is this the item, a memory card? It looks like a SanDisk 32 gigabyte memory card that you booked as item 157 in this case.
Yes, that's correct.
And the writing on the envelope that we see here in the bottom left corner, is that your writing?
Yes.
Okay. And is that the envelope into which you booked items 154 through 157 as we see written below the DR number?
Yes.
Okay. Showing you 194 that has a 16 in the bottom left corner. Is this another memory card, item 151 under PID 14?
Yes.
Did you also collect items from the third row?
I swabbed for touch DNA in the third row.
Did you collect items from the third row? Let me show you Exhibit 194. It has a
20 in the bottom left corner.
Your Honor, could she answer the previous question?
Does this
Actually, I will allow the question to be asked.
Does this assist you with respect to the items that were recovered from the third row?
Those items were not recovered, they were photo documented.
Okay, they were photo documented.
Yes.
Okay, my mistake. And these were items, though, that you did find, recover, find in the third row, correct?
Yes.
Question leading.
I found the black luggage and its contents in the third row, but I did not recover them. I photo documented.
Okay. You took them out.
Yes.
You laid them out as we see here in this photo.
Yes.
And then you had the photographer from the crime lab photo them.
Yes.
And then you put them all back in?
Yes.
Okay. Showing you Exhibit 194, number 21, page 21. Again, are these items that you took out of the third row area for photo documentation as we see here?
Yes.
In addition to the items that we see in 194 that has a 24 in the bottom left corner.
Yes.
And with respect to the items that were found in the third row, did it also include miscellaneous clothing that appeared to be from a woman?
Yes.
Okay. Such as underwear and things of that nature?
Yes.
Did you also find various personal items such as condoms in the third row?
Yes.
Showing you Exhibit 194 that has a 25 in the lower left corner. Again, is this another photograph taken to photo document those same items we've been talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there also a receipt found amongst those items?
Yes.
Showing you Exhibit 194, it has a 26 in the bottom left corner. Appears to be a receipt of a place called Eden Sky on Melrose, dated April 21st, 2017, at 6:05 at night.
Yes.
Showing you Exhibit 194 that has a 22 in the lower left corner. Were these items that, again, you photo documented that were contained in a some kind of an Eddie Bauer bag?
Yes. This was a photograph to show the third row seat area, and the one on the bottom left is the Eddie Bauer bag.
Okay. Showing you Exhibit 194 that has a 23 in the bottom left corner. Again, is this a photograph of the items that were removed from the floor space?
Yes.
In this particular vehicle, did you have a key in the ignition unlike the Porsche?
Yes.
Okay. And did you note anything about the windows of this particular vehicle?
The windows were tinted and they were rolled all the way up.
I'm sorry?
They were tinted and they were also rolled all the way up.
Okay. Did you find any foreign currency in the vehicle?
I did not.
Any phones, cell phones,
I did not.
knives,
I did not.
hoodies?
I did not.
Again, with respect to all of the evidence or any of the items that you did collect from in the interior of this vehicle, did you, such as the memory cards, did you package and book those items under the same DR that we spoke of with respect to Fabio Sementilli's Porsche?
Yes.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Mr. Babich.
Good afternoon, Ms. Kwon.
Hello.
You're processing the Porsche on January 27th, 2017, and then processing the Ford Expedition on June 15th, or was it June 15th or June 14th?
June 15th.
June 15th. That was the extent of your role in this matter, correct?
I processed the two vehicles.
Once you collected the samples, you didn't match or test the DNA or anything like that afterwards, correct?
That is beyond my scope.
Understood. And did you collect any DNA samples from the Ford Expedition?
I did.
And you booked those samples and transported them back to the lab?
I collected, I swabbed the areas for possible biological material, touch DNA as I explained earlier, and I collected them and I booked them also.
And the Ford Expedition was processed roughly over 4 months after the date of the murder, correct? About 5 months after the date of.
It's the same.
Well, you mentioned, you testified previously that you were filled in on certain details about the investigation, correct?
Correct.
To have an idea of what to look for when you're processing the vehicle?
Correct.
You were told the date of the murder was January 23rd, 2017, correct?
I believe so.
And so the processing of the Ford Expedition occurred on June 15th, 2017, right?
That's correct.
Regarding the Ford Expedition, you said no knives were recovered, correct?
That's correct.
And after you finished processing, do you have these items? Do you have any idea what happened to them afterwards? In terms of how they were tested, who tested them, or anything like that?
No.
No?
My role is to recover evidence from the scene of vehicle searches and prepare them for long-term packaging, long-term storage, and that is the extent of my role.
And you also, I believe, clarified that your job was to recover biological or physical evidence, correct? Can you
Correct.
explain briefly the difference between biological and physical evidence?
When I refer to biological evidence, I am specifically looking for things of like blood or semen or touch DNA sort of type of evidence. When I say physical evidence, I'm looking for more like non-DNA evidence such as firearms or knives or actual objects that are not focused on DNA.
Understood. And you received a briefing prior to processing the Ford Expedition as well, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
When you said that you processed the Ford Expedition, you processed the Ford Expedition for potential DNA, not necessarily DNA, correct?
Correct.
Nothing further.
Thank you, Ms. Kwon. You're excused. You may call the next witness.
Thank you. People call Randy Taylor.